This is Spiwe, and as promised, this is the video shot specifically for the Mindful Ninjas. First of all, let me just thank you for making this a part of your lives and supporting Mindful in 5 and helping make the world a better place, one mindful person at a time. This week, if you haven't read your email, we are talking about the story of Valerie and John. They're having a conversation, and Valerie is in her home freaking out. She seems angry, but what John recognizes is that actually her anger is a secondary emotion. The underlying emotion is fear and anxiety. I encourage all of you, as you go through your days, when you encounter people having what I'll call a Valerie moment, recognize that sometimes they come across as angry and aggressive when in fact they're really just frightened. And so don't react in kind to the anger, but respond to the underlying hurt and the fear and the anxiety and speak to that in love. Because, well, you can just be the bigger person, right? Anyway, Valerie is having this tirade, and John gives her a fairly simple instruction that she probably thinks is not that bright. She is told by John that what she ought to do is just surrender. And there are 3 steps for surrendering. So what I want to cover in this video is give you an example of what those 3 steps look like in action. Some of you know that I have been a student of mindfulness meditation for 14 years now, long time. I have studied, I have gone to classes, courses, seminars, conferences. I have studied under monks and nuns and pastors, and I have really dug into not just the techniques of mindfulness and meditation, but also into the question of how do you apply these things to your life. It is from this well of information that I bring you some solutions that I have seen work in the lives of others and that I have seen work in my own life. But these are not the only 3 ways to deal with fear. So if you are doing something that is working for you, let me know. Share. This is the time when we should be taking care of one another as human beings. So I'd love to hear what you are doing that is working for you, or if you're seeing other people doing things that is working for them, I would love to hear about it. Please do share and we can grow together. So let's go back to these 3 steps. So there are 3 steps that I propose to get us to this concept of surrender. And it's contextual because it's not like the dictionary definition. There's very specific aspects of it. So step number 1 is identify. You cannot address what you do not acknowledge. So I'll use an example that I actually had 2 weeks ago. I was talking to my Valerie, coworker of mine, and we're in the office. She's standing 7 feet away, and she is freaking out, man. She is just afraid. And I was just, at the outset, I was just trying to understand what it was that was frightening her so much. And so I said, Valerie of mine, her name wasn't really Valerie, but that's what we're calling her. So I said to her, what is it that's really frightening you in this moment? What is it that's really got you going? And fear, when it gets going, is just this big, amorphous, hairy, scary thing. And it's just unspecified and ugly and evil and wicked and just frightening, right? And that's the space that she was in. And it took a while, and I had to now start asking very specific questions. So, are you afraid to die? And she thought about it, and she said, I am a Christian. I believe in life after death. So no, I'm not afraid to die. And I said, okay, are you afraid for your children? And she thought about that. And she said, no, because my children are at home. So no, I'm not afraid for my children. Okay, what we finally got to was that the thing that was frightening Valerie was that she was afraid that she might get sick and wind up with a really big medical bill that she couldn't pay. Okay, so now we have identified the source of the fear. Part of what happens is when you really identify and you really get specific about what is it that I'm so afraid of, it makes it smaller and it makes it more manageable, which then takes us to step 2, which is confront. Now, confronting also means do not diminish, do not minimize, do not dismiss, right? It's easy, especially if the fear is ours, to say things to ourselves like, oh, I should know better. I shouldn't be afraid of this. Or, oh, that is so silly. How could I possibly be concerned about this? Don't do that. Because, mindfulness is about being in the present moment without judgment. Don't judge your fears. They are there. Because if you dismiss them, they'll just be there and they'll continue to grow. So don't do that. Confront the fear. Now, confronting the fear in my Valerie situation wasn't about pulling out the health insurance policy and saying, okay, let's see what the deductible is and let's see how much you're going to have and what's the copay. No. That's not what she needed. So what we did was we just walked through the fear. What if you wind up with these really big, huge medical bills that you can't pay? What are we going to do then? What can you control? What can you do? Well, we came up with 3 things. Number 1, she could call up the creditors and create a schedule for repayment. Number 2, some people go to crowdsourcing. You can take to social media, you can take to the internet, and you can ask people to donate towards your medical bills. Option 3, you could file bankruptcy. I used to be a bankruptcy lawyer for the first 5 years of my practice as a lawyer. And there were many times where people found themselves in situations where they had big, massive medical bills that were just drowning them. Maybe it was a car accident. Maybe it was a work-related accident. Maybe it was a diagnosis of, something like cancer or an autoimmune disease. Maybe it was a difficult pregnancy or a child who was born with certain physical or psychological challenges that then just created a lifetime of having to provide medical care. So bankruptcy is very much an option. And so now we've identified 3 specific things that my Valerie could do. Then we bring it back to the 3rd step, which is bring it back to the present moment. I asked my Valerie, so Valerie, are you sick right now? And she said, no. I said, well, are you experiencing symptoms right now? She said, no. And I said, but yet you are still worried about getting sick. And she said, yes, I am. And I said, well, were you worried about that yesterday? Yes, I was. You worried about getting sick tomorrow? Yes, I am. And I said, okay. So today is the tomorrow you were worried about yesterday. You were fine yesterday and the day before and the day before that. You are fine right now. Would that be an accurate statement? She absolutely agreed that would be an accurate statement. And so bring it back to the moment. You don't have bills that are overwhelming you right now. You may never have bills that overwhelm you, ever. So contain the fear. If there are things that you can control so that you're not afraid of that thing, then make a plan, right? I'm going to sock away a certain amount of money. I'm going to learn about how crowdsourcing works. Maybe I might even do some research and figure out, how hard is it to file bankruptcy? I mean, for somebody who's not sick and who doesn't have the bills and for whom this hasn't manifested personally, I don't believe in planning for the disaster. That is just my personal philosophy, because there is power in what we think. There is power in what we put out into the world. And I do not believe in putting out things that you don't want. So if what you want is health, then meditate on your good health and your continued good health. Because the truth about even COVID-19 is that there are actually many, many, many more people who recover from it than die from it. That's just a fact. So, and by the way, I can't tell you how many people, how many Valeries I have met in the past couple of weeks who've had the sniffles, who've had a fever, and freaked out, self-quarantined. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, that is a good thing. Freaked out, self-quarantined, only to find out that they had a cold or they had a 24-hour bug. Remember, COVID-19 is one kind of coronavirus. Coronaviruses have been around with us for a long time. Coronaviruses cause the common cold. They cause all of those random viruses and bugs that we get from year to year. So just remember that just because you get sick doesn't mean it's the COVID-19. And just because you have COVID-19 doesn't mean it's over for you. And so all that to say, when you have your own Valerie moments, when you encounter Valeries, try these 3 steps. Number 1, identify the source of the fear. Number 2, confront it. Number 3, bring it back to the present and surrender what you cannot control. Until next time, this is Fiwa saying, be mindful, and if you have somebody that you think would benefit from hearing this conversation, I encourage you to share it, because now is the time when we really have to take care of one another, and we should be checking up on one another and checking up on our friends. I can't tell you how many people I have called and just said, I am just checking up on you. Are you doing okay? So check up on each other, share information, share with me what you're doing that's working for you. I would love, love, love to hear it. So, okay, now I'm done. This is Fiwa saying, thank you for watching. Be mindful and be well.